Please listen carefully.
Hello, universe. Welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Amelia Buckley.
And I'm Kristy Jansen, and we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, Summers is off the pod this morning worthy podcast. Today is Monday, the 30th of November, 2020.
Hey, Amelia. So how are you? How was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was great. It was low-key, but perfect. I got to spend a little bit of time with my mom and my sister, and it was very relaxing. I kind of liked having a more mellow holiday. How about you?
Ours was also fun and also more mellow than my typical Thanksgiving, but it was kind of hilarious also. I have to tell this little story because we were going to be making our own turkey, just my household of 5, and I had bought a turkey the week before. It should have been totally fine within the expiration date. But when I pulled it out on Thursday, it was called a spatchcock. So they had opened it up so that it could fit into the oven more easily. You know, I figured that would be better. Mm-hmm. Plus it was a little bit small. It was in a brine, so it had already been marinating. I thought this is perfect. I didn't have to do any extra work, right? It's super simple. But when I pulled the bag out to put in the oven on Thursday, first of all, the bag was a little bit puffy. Uh-oh. And when we opened it up and put it into the tin pan, you know, we got one of those throwaway pans to make it also clean up easier. Oh my God, Amelia. The smell was overwhelmingly disgusting. It was so bad.
No.
And it was, you know, it was $40. It was not a cheap thing. I think there was a little bit of a premium even because it had been prepared in this way so that it could fit into the oven. Anyway.
So what did you end up eating?
Fortunately, I had bought it from a grocery store, which was in our neighborhood. It wasn't like I mail ordered it or something. And so I called the store and I talked to the meat manager and he said, well, bring it back and we'll trade it out for something fine. So my husband and I went to the store with this foul bird in a plastic garbage bag. We had to, you know, put it in a bag because it was so horrible. We exchanged that for a gift card and we exchanged that for a roast and some chicken because we didn't have time anymore to cook a whole turkey. So it was kind of funny. And, you know, so we did all the trimmings of a turkey without the turkey, but another roast meal. And it was really fun and nice. And then we played some games and it was a really, really beautiful little small Thanksgiving day, but it was pretty funny. So
that's something you would find in like a Hallmark Thanksgiving comedy movie.
Absolutely. You know, it was exactly the right kind of Thanksgiving for 2020 for me as far as I'm concerned, and it will not be quickly forgotten.
Honestly, out of all the Thanksgiving foods though, turkey is the one I could do without. Ironically, yeah. I think the stuffing and the pies are way up on my list compared to the turkey.
So we ended up with, you know, turkey gravy because that's what I had to prepare, and chicken and roast beef and Brussels sprouts and all the other sides and cranberries and, you know, and my flan.
Delicious nonetheless. And the flan. Can't forget about the Thanksgiving flan.
Thanksgiving flan, yeah. So it was definitely a year to remember. So, yeah. And it was nice to have those extra few days. We also put together, I ordered a couple of new furniture pieces. We put that together. And it really made a huge difference. We have a new cabinet in our kitchen, and it's great. We're so thrilled with that.
Wonderful.
Cleans up a whole corner that was not very good before. So anyway.
I definitely did enjoy the time off. Also, yeah. I popped online this morning to kind of check out our stories before we started recording, and I was like, whoa, I haven't thought about writing these since way last week.
No, it's good. And I think there's definitely some articles that sparked my interest today. But let's start with yours. What do you want to talk about today from today's
one
headlines?
That interested me was actually based in Anchorage, Alaska, which we don't hear a lot about. Alaska's kind of out there. We don't have a ton of stories that cover that. But this one is the story that Anchorage introduces team of mental health first responders. So basically they're joining other cities across the U.S., including one, I think it was Denver that we wrote about, is doing this also, where they're introducing a mobile crisis team, and it's funded with money from an alcohol tax that is going towards funding this crisis team that is made up of a paramedic, a behavioral health clinician, and a unit commander, and they are going to non-criminal 911 calls to reduce violence between police and residents. So they're expected to divert over 7,000 annual calls from the police. So basically they're attending calls for people having a mental health crisis, a lot of unsheltered individuals. Not only are they addressing this better than the police could because they have more adequate training, but they're also just reducing the burden on the police so they can more effectively address calls where there is police presence required. It's really cool. What struck me about this story was that the deputy police chief actually commented on the story and was emphasizing that the police department is in support of this mobile crisis team and they want to work together to make sure that the bottom line is the best resources are being allocated to help the public in the most effective way possible. So the deputy police chief actually said, this is an important step forward for our community in meeting the needs of those in crisis.
I thought this was a great story to feature today as well. And it kind of underscores the need to have a different approach to crises. As our communities become more complex and more expanded, we've put so much burden onto the police department to deal with most 911 calls, when really that is not the most appropriate first responder for many situations, right? It's not a criminal situation. It's a behavioral health kind of problem, or a mental health kind of problem, or a family in crisis. I like seeing these stories, and I'm really curious to see how different cities are going to be charting a way forward to help redefine and kind of right-size the burden on police departments around our country. This mobile crisis team idea is really interesting. I'm glad that we picked it up today, and let's see how it develops in Anchorage. And Anchorage is an interesting place too because it gets so dark so early. I feel like there is definitely mental health issues that you just get from the wintering kind of world compared to the southern states. I mean, things are not as north as Anchorage, but it's interesting how light affects our mental health. You hear of the winter depression when you have no light. And so I just think it's interesting that Anchorage is picking this up. I mean, one of the first communities around the country to take this on and to acknowledge the fact that mental health is a real concern and that it's overburdening our police departments in an unfair way. Yeah.
Well, this story was kind of about community wellness. I think your story also revolves around community wellness, especially in urban environments. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what you wanted to cover today?
The article that I wanted to highlight, the headline reads, AI mapping tool shows cities exactly where they need to plant more trees. And it's another city, although it's close to our personal backyard, Los Angeles, which is where I grew up. It's definitely in the southern latitudes of the United States, or at least that's where they're starting this technology. And as we've written about a lot on the Optimist Daily, as it's becoming more and more evident, planting trees in urban neighborhoods is a really positive thing to do. First of all, it helps with air quality. It helps with shade, which lowers the heat index. It also actually is a boon to mental health, speaking of, and just human health, right? Having more natural greenery around you has direct impact on how people feel, both on a physical and an emotional and mental state. So when you have a city, and this one is actually going to be focused in Los Angeles, the first experiment here, what we've found is that the urban canopy, the trees in the city are not evenly distributed. They're mostly on private property, and wealthier communities have a greater ability to plant trees and give them the space to grow, right? And so as we've acknowledged that we need to add more trees and tree cover to help our urban environments thrive and the people who live in these urban environments thrive, we need to add more trees. So Google has actually released this new tool called the Tree Canopy Lab, and it uses an AI tool to look at aerial photographs and quickly analyze the photos of trees from different angles and determine the average tree canopy in the city. And they combine this with other data sets, for example, heat indexes, and then they are able to determine where in the city there are populations which are more vulnerable to low tree canopy cover. And the reason that this is interesting for Los Angeles is that they have created a plan to plant 90,000 trees next year. And they're going to make use of this tool because it's really hard to know where can you get the most bang for your buck if you're going to be planting trees all over the city. Just having people walk around isn't that efficient. And Los Angeles has a large percentage of the population where they live in areas of less than 10% tree canopy coverage. And so this is also especially compounded by the fact that most of these areas are then built on concrete pads and then streets. And so the urban heat effect really takes over there. So in order to get closer to that 40% tree canopy cover, which is what you need to significantly lower temperatures and also improve like mental and physical health, these neighborhoods, that means that those are the areas that they should target when they're planting these trees. So using this tool, they're going to be able to be more targeted. And so I think it's an interesting acknowledgement that planting trees is something that's not super expensive, but it can have real lasting benefits. Having this tool, the Tree Canopy Lab, will help Los Angeles and other cities. They're starting it out in LA, but hopefully Google will continue to develop it and then share it with other cities once Los Angeles makes the best use of it. So that was the article that I wanted to talk about today.
Very cool. I know you have that personal connection to Los Angeles, so you love talking about those stories. And I definitely have experienced that relationship between mental health and time in nature. And even something as simple as more trees in your neighborhood can really have that positive effect on mental health. So very cool. Hope to see it in other cities soon.
All right. So what else is on our headlines today? Let's just go quickly through them. We do miss Summers today, but she'll be back tomorrow, and I will be taking the day off tomorrow. So Amelia, we're throwing you in here for the start of this week. But other stories today, the lead headline is about how Oslo has cut pedestrian and cyclist deaths to zero, and I almost decided to talk about that one, but again, it's about making our cities more livable and more human-based as opposed to focusing on traffic and other kinds of things, right? Want to exercise more? There are 2 research-backed motivation strategies that we highlight here to help you get your oomph to get out there and run or jog or bike or walk or whatever it is that you want to do to improve your physical fitness. There's a new app that will help people with nighttime disorder, help them sleep through the night. What else is there?
NASA has released a report that nitrogen dioxide levels have dropped 20% since the pandemic began, which is good news. We got to keep those low even as we recover. Cotton candy machines could help prevent the spread of COVID-19. This one's really interesting. I don't even know how to explain it. You just have to go read it yourself. Novel pesticide detecting technique can help save bee colonies. So this is using bees' honey to detect pesticides and help protect those populations. And 4 ways to alleviate loneliness, even when you're alone. I know as we head into more socially distanced holidays, this one's very relevant. And last but not least, cook from home kits let you recreate your favorite meal. And this one is about restaurants in the UK that are finding even more innovative approaches to bring their food to customers. So that is all we have today on the Optimist Daily. Go check out all the stories yourself. And we promise to continue to share positive solution-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in this changing world and ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to cover the current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offer you the information needed most to chart new paths for all of us.
And if you're listening and you have the means, please consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com. And for just $5 a month, you can help support reader-funded independent journalism, or support us however you can by sharing stories, helping introduce the Optimist Daily to new readers, and growing our audience and our impact on the world. But however you can support us and help us out, be a part of the solution-changing consciousness that addresses our world's biggest challenges with that problem-solving mindset. Let's keep the Optimist Daily free to everyone who needs it, supported by those of us who can. Thanks so much for listening, and we will talk to y'all tomorrow.
Bye, Kristy.
Bye.